They met in 1991 when he was a waiter and she was a restaurant hostess. 33 years together. 26 years of marriage. 2 sons. 5 seasons of a television show that put their relationship in front of millions of viewers. A podcast they hosted together called Works for Us. And then, in the summer of 2024, a specific weekend in Aspen that she described on camera as making it real f***ing easy to go. There are divorces that arrive as a surprise and divorces that arrive as a conclusion. The split that ended 33 years of partnership is, on examination, the second kind. The slow accumulation of a specific set of conditions that had been building since long before the summer of 2024, and that most people around them either knew about or suspected, and that she has since described in interviews and on camera with a candor that is notable for a woman who spent 2 decades very carefully managing the public presentation of a relationship that was, simultaneously, the foundation of an empire. The beginning of the story deserves more attention than it usually gets because the beginning contains the structure that made the end almost inevitable. He was 22. She was 19. They were both students at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And he saw her for the first time when she walked into the restaurant where he was working as a waiter. He has described the memory with the specific clarity that people apply to genuinely indelible moments. She was wearing a tight black mini dress, high-heeled pumps, stick-straight hair, and big red lips covered in MAC Chili lipstick, he told Harper's Bazaar in 2011. I vividly remember the first time I saw her. They began dating shortly after. They graduated. They moved to New York. She pursued styling. He went into investment banking at Ladenburg Thalmann. And then she needed him for something else. The transition of their professional relationship is the most important fact about their marriage that most viewers of the Rachel Zoe project never fully reckoned with. He left investment banking. He became the president of the fashion brand she was building around herself. His official Bravo biography described his role with precision. He handles all finance, legal, and employee oversight and works in conjunction with his wife to set the overall direction and strategy of the brand. His responsibilities included negotiating partnerships with licensing partners and seeking new opportunities to extend her name. He was the financial brain, the legal brain, the strategic brain. The creative brand was hers. The business architecture was his. The company was called Rachel Zoe Incorporated. One of those names was on the door. The other was running the building. This arrangement worked spectacularly for approximately a decade. The Rachel Zoe project ran 5 seasons on Bravo between 2008 and 2013. They were one of the most watchable couples in franchise history. Not because they fought, but because they seemed to genuinely enjoy each other in a way that was unusual among the Bravo spouse pairings of that era. He was dry and funny. She was dramatic and affectionate. He called her Ratch and rolled his eyes at her declarations of emergency. She called him her partner in everything. They built the Zoe Report, a digital media publication that sold to another company in 2018. They built Box of Style, a subscription box delivering curated products. They built a fashion line. They co-founded Curateur, her rebrand of Box of Style after the sale. At every stage, he was the person turning her creative instinct into a commercially viable structure. On their Works for Us podcast, the title itself is the tell, they gave relationship advice to listeners while hosting conversations about how to navigate partnership. In a 2021 interview, she said, "I always say, behind many successful women there is a really, really good man rooting for them." When she said that, it was not a performance. He had been rooting for her, building for her, structuring the financial and legal infrastructure that made her creative work commercially sustainable for 20 years. The company was named after her. He ran it. The problem, as she has now described it across multiple platforms and cameras, is that the professional overlap eventually consumed everything else. She said it herself in the season 15 premiere of Rob, without qualification, in hindsight, if I had to say a great regret, probably greatest regret, would be working together. She also said, "I think we've outgrown each other. We became very different people." And then the observation that requires the most unpacking. They were together for 18 years before having children, and things changed when the boys arrived. That sequence, 18 years as a couple before children, professional entanglement so complete that disagreements had nowhere to go. And then children arriving and realigning two people's priorities in different directions is the structural description of how a marriage can slowly come apart without any single catastrophic event. She said it herself, their divorce, snorts, was not one thing. It was, in the phrase attributed to a source close to the situation, death by snorts, 1,000 cuts. The children, Skylar Morrison Berman, now 14, and Caius Jagger Berman, now 12, arrived when the couple was already well into their 30s. They had spent a decade and a half as a professional and romantic partnership before parenthood changed what they each needed from the other. She has said that Rodger's relationship with the boys became tricky after the separation. She said their sons had been asking why their father acts the way he does. That phrasing, "Why does he act the way he does?" is the language of children processing a parent's behavior as confusing rather than simply different. Something shifted in Rodger's conduct during or after the separation that the boys were aware of and that she was describing on camera by December 2025. The specific breaking point that she was willing to name on camera was a weekend. The weekend of August 2nd and 3rd, 2024. He was in Aspen. She was in Los Angeles because she had a thing to host. He called her from Aspen. Whatever happened, happened. And I just split open. She told them directly, when that trust is broken, it's like broken. There's no going back. She said in confessional that the 2 years before the August weekend had been back and forth, fighting and reconciling, the specific cycle of a relationship trying to repair. Something that was already too damaged for the repairs to hold. She said, some things happen for reasons to force your hand, and in this case, that weekend of August 2nd, 3rd, 2024 just made it real f-king easy to go. She has never fully named what happened on that weekend. She said in a confessional that there were a myriad of bad decisions that had been made over the last month, the last week, the last f-king hour that triggered her to move things forward. She said to producers, "There's a lot I don't share." What she has stopped short of saying explicitly, while simultaneously providing all the information that a reasonable observer needs to draw the obvious conclusion, is that the Aspen weekend involved a woman. When Dorrit pressed her to specify what she meant by whatever happened, she said they got into a fight and did not elaborate. The woman is now documented. His girlfriend is a stylist named Bree Jacoby. She is 36 years old. She was publicly photographed with him early in the separation in the Daily Mail walking on Los Angeles sidewalks, his arm around her. When a producer on Rob asked whether he had started dating Bree right after you guys separated, the response was, "You do the math." A second producer noted that Rodger had probably started dating Bree not long after the split. The response was the same. Do the math. On a December 2025 episode of Rob, she disclosed that Bree had appeared unannounced to meet her sons on the day they were leaving for summer camp. Skylar and Caius are about to get on a plane to camp, she told the cameras. Literally, she f-king appeared. She's there with him, shows up, and says hi to my sons. She had already been publicly photographed with him. The children had not been formally introduced to her. Rodger appeared with Bree, and the children met her for the first time while standing with their luggage about to board a flight. On April 10, 2026, 3 weeks ago as of this script, Bree Jacoby responded. She posted a 5-slide statement on Instagram stories in which she contested the timeline being presented on the show. She said she met the children a year after dating their father. She said the woman appearing before her on Rob was a great actor, but that she was sick of her storyline. She accused her of taking zero accountability for her own behavior. She encouraged her followers to pass messages to the woman herself since she had been blocked. She said, "I ain't going anywhere. See you at the bar mitzvah." And then she identified what she believed was the actual emotional reality. You did not want to be married and said it yourself you wish you left 7 years ago. You're acting like a jealous woman. That last line is worth examining. 7 years ago would be 2019. If that date is accurate and Bree is sourcing it from something she has been told or observed, then the marriage was functionally over in one party's private assessment long before the August 2024 weekend that became the stated breaking point. It would suggest that what the public saw as a mutual dissolution was actually one person already at the exit door for years before the paperwork followed. The financial entanglement of this divorce is the dimension that has received the least press attention, and that is arguably the most complicated aspect of the whole situation. She said in the divorce filing that she has no prenuptial agreement. She also said neither party is requesting spousal support. In a February 2026 appearance on Watch What Happens Live, she confirmed the divorce was not yet finalized but would be soon. She said it was amicable because we want what's best for the kids. The amicability is real to the extent that anything about a 33-year business partnership being formally dissolved can be amicable. But the financial architecture underneath that amicability is genuinely complex. He was the president of Rachel Zoe Incorporated. For the entirety of their marriage, he handled all finance, legal, and employee oversight. He negotiated the partnerships that extended the brand. He was the co-founder of Curateur. The brand's name belongs entirely to her. Legally and publicly, it is her identity, her persona, the word people search when they want the aesthetic she represents. The business infrastructure that made that brand commercially viable was built by him. In the September 2024 joint statement, both of them said they were committed to continuing to work together within the many businesses we share. By the time the divorce filing came in July 2025, the working together framing had been replaced by irreconcilable differences and a separation date of June 27, 2024, 3 months before the public announcement. She requested her legal last name be restored to Rosenzweig, her given surname, rather than Berman. She wants to be legally known as Rachel Zoe again, the name she built the brand under. This is not a minor administrative request. It is the formalization of a separation between the name on the door and the man who is running the building. She told Rodger he was not thrilled with what she has shared on Rob. He has not appeared on the show. He has not given interviews about the divorce. The only voice from his side of the story that has been public is Breeze, the girlfriend who told the world the relationship's timeline, contested the blindsided narrative, and said, "See you at the bar mitzvah," to the woman whose name is on the company her boyfriend spent 26 years building. What the full investigative picture assembles is this. Two people met as college students, built something extraordinary together over 33 years, and gradually became different people whose needs diverged at every level simultaneously: professional, personal, parental, and romantic. The professional overlap that had been the engine of everything they built was also, she said herself, her greatest regret. It left no space for the disagreements to be contained, because the disagreements followed them from the boardroom to the kitchen table to the Aspen phone call that ended everything. He moved on quickly. Perhaps he had already moved on before August 2024, depending on whose timeline you believe. She joined a reality television show and disclosed the end of her marriage in real time on camera in a way that he found uncomfortable enough to say so publicly. She said, "There was a lot I don't share. What she did share was enough. The name on the door is staying. The man who ran the building is leaving. The divorce will be finalized," she says, "soon. The company will continue. The brand is hers." The 26 years of architecture that made the brand commercially sustainable belongs to both of them, and no court document or settlement agreement will fully untangle what was built together across a third of a century. She said she wished she had left 7 years ago if Bree's account of what she told people is accurate. 7 years ago would have been 2019. The boys would have been 7 and 5. The company would have been mid-pivot between the Zoe Report sale and Curateur. The show they hosted together about how to make a partnership work would have been in its early run. She stayed for 7 more years after the moment, if that moment existed, when she already knew. That is what 33 years looks like when you have spent most of them building something together that cannot fully be separated from either of you. You stay past the moment you knew. You build more. You host the podcast about making it work. And then a weekend in Aspen makes it real f-king easy to go. 33 years. The president of her company for all 26 years of the marriage. No prenup. A weekend in Aspen she has never fully explained. A girlfriend who appeared at the school camp drop-off. A divorce still not finalized as of February 2026. and a statement that she wished she had left 7 years earlier. Subscribe for more.